We play and call it work.
Welcome, Wargamers. My name is Doug from the YouTube channel 2+ Tough, which is all about Age of Sigmar lore. And my good friends here at MiniWarGaming have allowed me to hijack their channel for a day and tell you all about one of the greatest Stormhosts there is for the Stormcast Eternals. The greatest and the foremost, the Hammers of Sigmar. Now, if you like the story that you're about to hear, you can actually see how they translate this lore into gameplay by going and clicking the link down below. Because today there is a battle report in the MiniWarGaming vault that really demonstrates how this army has been translated from the stories to the tabletop. Don't forget, you get a free 7-day trial in the vault if you're not already signed up. And with that out of the way, we're going to dive into the Hammers of Sigmar. Now, it is hard to put into words just how celebrated this Stormhost is. No other Stormhost has fought as many epic battles as the Hammers of Sigmar. They were the first to be forged upon the anvils of apotheosis. This is the process with which Sigmar creates Stormcast Eternals. They are the preeminent ones, the prototype, if you will. And since they were the first to be struck, they are the largest Stormhost, the one who's been added to more than any others. This allows them to really spread out over multiple battlefronts. We saw this a lot in the Realmgate Wars, which is a series of campaign books that debuted when Age of Sigmar was released. Some of the Hammers were sent down to Akshi to claim the first Realmgate, as depicted in the books Gates of Azyr and Warstorm, but they were also seen throughout the other realms, namely Chemon, Realm of Metal, and others. And being this large size, having this scale that allows them to be so many places, means that more people see them than any other Stormhost. In fact, when your average free guild warrior, your average human in the realms, thinks of a Stormcast Eternal, he likely thinks of a Hammer of Sigmar. Because these really are the template for all other Stormcast Eternals. They have access to all available weapons and chambers that Sigmar has opened up, and they have been battle hardened to the point where now they can each actually take a teaching role to train new warriors who are being freshly forged. Because there's a lot to learn about the different types of warfare that are effective in different realms. And if those weren't enough things to make them very distinct, they have one further distinction, which is they have the largest Extremists Chamber. If you're new to the Stormcast Eternals, the Extremists Chamber is basically the department or organizational structure that houses all of the Dracoths. This is the heavy riding cavalry where they ride on the back of a basically smaller version of a dragon that shoots lightning from its breath, meant for heavy, fast assaults that pound the enemy, break open barriers, and just really get into the mess of things. They have the largest one, and this is because the god of Dracoths, named Dracothian, who is a friend of the pantheon of Sigmar and of Order in general, has seen the Hammers of Sigmar since their creation and has noted their valor and their bravery, and as such he gifts them with more of his sons, meaning the Dracoths, the steeds, than any other Stormhost. But moving away from the factual things that make them unique, what have the Hammers of Sigmar actually done since the beginning of the Age of Sigmar? Well, as I said before, they were the first Stormcast Eternals introduced in this setting. Sigmar opened the gates to Azyr with a particular gate in the Realm of Fire in an area known as the Brimstone Peninsula. He sent Lord Celestit Vandus Hammerhand down to take it. And this was a huge fight. As I said before, it covers the books Gates of Azyr and Warstorm, and it details Vandus leading the Hammers of Sigmar, securing a realm gate, pushing back a colossal warband of Khorne followers called the Gortide, led by the mighty Lord of Khorne himself, Korgus Kull. And their assault was so effective, they took the realm gate that they were sent for, and then also destroyed a realm gate that led to the realm of Khorne nearby. And moving away from that specific area, they also helped and were instrumental in retrieving Gal Maraz, which was Sigmar's own personal hammer that was discovered through the course of the campaign. In another story, they tried to infiltrate a Khorne fortress to steal the chains that binded Skarbrand in between battles, hoping they could subdue the beast throughout the war. Didn't quite work out, but it was a great story that they were involved in. And they were instrumental in the final campaign book, All Gates, in shutting the Brimstone Gate, which was a major blow to Khorne and his forces and kept a lot of his power out of the Realm of Fire. And all these battles were very hard fought and hard won in the cases where they did win, but they are more than just warriors, they're also builders and defenders. Because as the war moved out from Azyr, Stormhosts began to found cities. And these would act as like military bases at first, but then civilization began to flourish around them. We would call these storm keeps. It's kind of like, think of it as the HQ for a particular Stormhost. Well, the storm keep of the Hammers of Sigmar is the city Hammerhall, which has featured prominently in many stories. It's a fascinating city. It's been talked about quite a bit, where it was built around a realm gate that connects the realm of fire and the realm of life. So half the city is in one, half the city is in the other, and they share resources and equipment to thrive and become really what is kind of the capital city amongst the mortal realms. This city also featured prominently in the Firestorm campaign set, which you can still pick up from Games Workshop. And what we see here is a new type of enemy emerge. See, because society brings with it a new type of warfare. Politicking, backstabbing, scandals, all the garbage that mortal societies bring with them. Because internal strife flourishes when the kind of avarice and greed of mankind meets the uncompromising nature of the Hammers of Sigmar and Stormcast in general. This is happening multiple places. This friction that we see is compounded by the reforging process. To put it briefly, when a Stormcast Eternal dies, their soul is pulled back to Azir by Sigmar to be reforged on the anvil of Apotheosis. And this is when reforging happens. However, this process is not flawless. At the moment of death, Nagash himself, Lord of Undead, tries to pull at that soul, and the tug of war between Sigmar and Nagash results in Sigmar getting the soul, but a little bit of it has been chipped away, pulled away by Nagash himself. The book Soul Wars by Josh Reynolds that recently came out has a Stormcast Eternal in it, recalling seeing Nagash and hearing him call to him in this moment of kind of undeath. And after this process, after many reforgings, I should say, Stormcast Eternals tend to be a little different. Bit by bit, their souls get chipped away. Now we're hundreds of years into this grand narrative, starting with the Hammers of Sigmar landing in Akshi, to now where we are with Soul Wars. And so the real effects of this reforging flaw are starting to become quite prominent. Stormcast Eternals will become quiet, more uncompromising, more inhuman. They suffer a lot of memory loss and other various maladies. And so why does this matter to the Hammers of Sigmar specifically? Well, these things matter because they were the first Stormhost, meaning they fought more than anyone else, meaning they've also been reforged more than anyone else. If you want to see how the war is affecting the nature of the soul of a Stormcast Eternal, you just have to look at the Hammers of Sigmar. In Hammerhall, their home city, tensions are slowly rising as the greed of men meets this new, uncompromising, inhuman, reforged Stormcast Eternal. Because let me ask you this, when does politicking become treachery? And who is the judge and who is the jury? Because the citizens here, as they're kind of doing their daily lives under this very low-level fear of a Stormcast Eternal, because they are inhuman demigods who show little humanity at this point, they have every reason to be afraid of becoming locked into a almost police state by automatons is how people can perceive what's happening. And so even the best and brightest heroes that Sigmar has produced to this point, the flaw in them is showcasing the tension of order as a grand alliance. And so the fundamental question of the Hammers of Sigmar is this: will their achievements be overshadowed by the cost it took to achieve them? They've destroyed countless foes. They were instrumental in so many campaigns. They are the pinnacle of what a Stormcast Eternal Stormhost should be. And in doing so, they've basically erected the capital city in the mortal realms. But it cost them their souls to do it, and the ramifications of that price are slowly taking their toll on what they've managed to build. And this makes them a deeply fascinating Stormhost to learn about, to read about, to see engaged, because that bravery and that heroism, and frankly their combat style of striking in first, knocking the opponent back, and then just grinding them out through attrition is something that translates very well to the tabletop. And narratively they have a wide depth of character, and I absolutely love this Stormhost. So if you want to see how Games Workshop has translated this kind of depth of narrative from this book over to the tabletop, go ahead and click that link down below. It'll bring you to the vault. If you are a member, you'll get to watch a great battle report, and if you are not, you get to sign up for a free 7-day trial and see exactly why there's so much value with the MiniWarGaming guys. And if you would like to learn more about Age of Sigmar lore, be sure to head over to my YouTube channel at 2+Tough. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming.